Oh, there was one more thing I forgot to say, which if I did the other video as well. It was it was about me and Jules still, but I was meant to bring it up in the other one. So when I stayed at his house, I stayed in Pete's room, who was renting there, and it worked better for someone who didn't understand music at all. So Pete, he was buying loads of instruments when I was there, and he was playing, and because he was in Jules's house, Jules was like, okay, while you're here, because he rents out some of his rooms, he was like, I'm going to teach you how to play piano, because he's got a few pianos in his house. So I was coming back, I was staying in the room with Pete, so Pete would have go on the piano with Jules and then talk to me, and then go back on the piano, and Pete would explain his experience about learning the notes and learning the music to me, and then I would go, oh my god, me and Jules have been trying to have this conversation for ages, but we're both repelling the conversation for some reason. And then as soon as Pete jumped in the middle, because me and Jules have had this thing for quite a few years, and then Pete's just met us both and then just come in and started doing the music, and he'll go, oh, Jules taught me this today, and I go, oh my god, that sounds like when you do art again. So actually through the middle person, so through the trying, because Jules was too experienced. I was dyslexic, so I'm this side of the music. Jules is this side, the left brain side, I'm this side, and then you've got Pete, who's just a bit in both, because he's quite creative and he's also quite left brain as well, but learning through the notes. Whereas I can't remember the letters and that very well, but I remember the colours better in my head, the way my memory works and my dyslexia. So because everything gets a bit backwards, but Pete would say, oh, if you're doing this, it would get a bit muddy. So they would say, oh, this part of the music, Jules would explain, oh, this sounds muddy now, so scrap it, or get it. And I said, oh, I have exactly the same method when I'm working on a painting, especially when I'm doing oil paint, because I'll have 3 canvases on at the go, and then I have to work layer by layer, and sometimes the layers take a while. It's taken me pretty about, I've been working with it now since I was in end of secondary school, I think. So quite 10. I'm 28, 29 now. So yeah, over 14 years solid, or 15 years solid, or something, maybe a bit longer. So the layering I've kind of got down now, just through experience, just through making those mistakes and doing. Well, they're not even mistakes. You can't really make mistakes. It's just change. Change is a constant. You just put one foot in front of the other, really. When people are trying to draw, they go like that. They go, oh, I made a mistake. It's rub it out. It's no, we just add another layer on the top. That's what I do when I'm painting. So I let the layers dry. So if that layer's dry, and I'll work on this one, and then I'll get another idea another day, and then I'll start another one out, and then maybe I won't add to that one for 3 years. So I have my own rosy internet going on, where I'll get a flash of a painting maybe I did 10 years ago, and it'll just be a little section of me painting it, because my memory of all my paintings is so massive, where I've spent so long just standing in front of a canvas editing my own colour. This is all stuck here. This is all pops up, how you watch stuff on TV, or to do the media, pops up in your little brain as little thoughts, or little memes in your head or whatever. That's your memory. That's what this deep subconscious pool is mixed up here. But I've also got this whole other file going on that Rosie's built and added to since I was young, since I started all this, because it's what I enjoy. So it's what my brain soaked up massively, because it's what I really enjoyed doing, and it was mainly of art. So I'm drawing, storing it, and I'm editing this bit, and then I'm pulling out a technique from 9, 10 years, 8 years ago, and then I'm adding it to something I just learnt now, and then it's so organic and vast that I don't know what's going to pop up in it, because it's just old or new, you know what I mean? So I've drawn off the track what I was talking about Jules now anyway. Jules, yeah, when him and Pete were doing the thing together, so he's going, oh, the music's got muddy. But when I'm painting, with oil paint, it gets muddy. So there's a certain layer sometimes where I'm working on something, if I've like mucked it up, and this is something I do want to zoom in on, this muck up, this mistake thing, mistakes. There's no mistakes when you're in light and you're actually existing. Mistake. So when he said about that, and I said, oh, it gets muddy in art as well. So that it's like when you get too many colours. So if I add a white layer, and because I'm always working light to dark, so I add a light layer then a dark layer. Well, not dark. It's like darker colours, navy blues, purples, the deeper magentas. I try and use like all different shades of each colour, so I've got all like different blues, like cyan blue up to deep blue, prism blue, crimson, all the different shades of each one. So when you're merging them, you're going from light to dark, and then you're basically pulling out something from that. And if you think of like all then light to dark would be tones of music, so it would be a deep blue would produce a certain note, and then a white or a yellow would produce a certain note, and then I'm just working with them. But if you add the music to the two, you merge them. But both get a point where they get muddy. So I found this interesting, just talking to Pete, 'cause he would come up with, oh, it's muddy, and I'm like, oh, that's... So I started saying to Jules, oh, when you say music gets muddy, this is how I get muddy in my paintings. And then I'd show him a painting I was working on that week. I brought it round and I said, look, I've had to take this. I used to take paintings around to his house so I'd have more space in the flat to keep producing them, and I just hang them up or give them to people, or like move them around Canterbury because they were drying and people would like to look at them. Most people have my paintings all round now because I've just left them everywhere. But everyone jams in them houses and music anyway, so I like the way they vibe off the arts and things. Gives ideas flow, it keeps it flowing and connected in a way. But not that that's like an outer connection. I'm looking at the interconnection of it all, because the two are like repelling, like a magnet repelling with it. I'm wanting to not to stick completely, but to flow. So yeah, it's like when I say muddy is when like a canvas would go light to dark, white, and then if you add more and more into a light spot, it goes like brown or like a deeper green, or sometimes I tend to black, but I tend to use dark purple, and that's it just goes more like a really deep brown, and then that would be the mixture. But when light comes through another way, it's white. So when it's in light white, it's that way. So when you add it, you can see how the palette of the earth works as well when it does that. But the bit in and out the music is I have to leave it to dry, and then once it's dry I can add the white layer again on the top, because if I added it to the darker layer it would just consume it and keep going up and up and up, so it has to sit on the top. But then if I did that with white and then added the dark layer, do the same, so both the layers are the same, so I could have when it gets muddy in a place where it can get muddy either way. So I just have to let it dry because there's too much paint on there. That's when it gets muddy, when there's too much going on with it. And it must be the same with music notes, I'm guessing, when Jules is talking about things that get muddy, is where maybe you're muddled up. So you're like, and you're like, oh, you come to a point where it's like a muddy pool where everything's still mixing, Like mud has different states, doesn't it? Has its like clay, rock, hard, solid state where it literally is turning into stone. It's amazing. It has its own lucid state. It's its own chameleon, even though it doesn't change colour. It changes for its texture. And I think texture is really important. Also, texture would be linked with transition, because if you look at texture in light, that's how, like, if you hold like a palm full of seeds, which I've shown in some of my other videos, each seed will have a different texture, and that's how it's eating the light to create what it's creating, because it's eating. That's how everything is different from everything else. When you look at how the light hits it, is it shiny? Is it kind of, bobbly? Like everything is eating everything differently and taking as a light source. So I guess as music that would also translate in different ways. That would translate in different ways as well. because it's a texture is a form of weavement of light, and frequency music is also giving out like a texture of energy in a way, as which is also a form of light. So if we could understand how to interlink the two, these should eventually help heal the body in new ways as well, like all the new healing energies and stuff. It's just putting the puzzle back together in a different form, but you have to smash it up to just kind of see it first, I guess, so you get the order from chaos again and again and again. Like the music and stuff is always written at the height or the depth of emotion. So you're always going to be, just brushing the edge of these things to actually create. Like I see creative people a bit like transmitters like this. So like we eat energy just as we always spit it out. So it's like if you go into a group and you've got people separated here and people separated there, and then you put a creative person there, they'll almost like absorb everything in the room and then make something out of it on their own internet thing and then spit it out to change that course of the energy in the space of the room, or correct it, or just edit it, because they fundamentally almost spit out this stuff. They edit these spaces, like into different ways of seeing and perspectives, because that's what they hold everywhere they go, in a way. So right now we probably want to be looking at enhancing that kind of stuff, but then you're looking at how everyone's bonding, connected and bonding, and that again links back to the communications, which is everything I'm talking about in here. So I know it sounds really scary to put some of the stuff I'm talking about, and it probably feels like I'm pulling something out below people when I'm saying get rid of the language, because then no one's got any more space to express themselves in other ways. But that could really see where the programming is shelled in, is like really stuck in there, needs to be pulled out, because it's like, well, why can't I do that? And then you really look at your internal of what's stopping you. What are your own fences that you maybe didn't even know existed that need burning down or breaking down a bit? And then you can break the fence down. You're still not left empty. You're still left with that fence panel. You know what I mean? You still got all that wood in that fence panel. Like, what are you gonna do with the wood in the fence panel? Like, take it and make it into something new? Do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, we're saying, oh, we've got fences and things we need to break down. It's like, yeah, break them down, but it doesn't mean they're gone. They're still there. They're just on the floor. So you just got to take it up off the floor, like chop it up into what you want. It's the same with what I'm doing with all these. This is from like Bournemouth Uni, and this is theoretically rubbish. This isn't rubbish to me because I take it and I make it into something worthy. Like, this is stunning. Like, how long did it take the earth to grow this tree? How long did it take the earth to grow this tree? Why isn't this stuff in galleries and that? It's taken like 100 years to make that piece of art there. Why isn't that in a gallery being praised? Because you walk past it every day and you don't even see it. Because you can't even see it. Because you're so stuck with all the stuff that's been drummed into you. But yeah, this is from the floor in Bournemouth Uni. So I take the rubbish and I make it into something that I want. And then I'll, paint on this. This is canvas to me. Look how stunning it is. But because I've seen the energy and the beauty in it, I've brought it out, and then I've got it there, someone else will want it. This is what I've done my whole life, put all my beauty into something, and I've put so much there now that I feel like just tired. But I still haven't really got the energy to paint these right now. I know it will come though, I can feel it building up, and I know it will just go poof, and then I'll just probably paint loads on these, because I'll do one palette, because I haven't got much paint at the moment. And I haven't even really got the energy to go around trying to blag to people, oh, do this painting and give me some paint, because I don't want to paint for other people right now. I want to paint for myself. So I'm trying to just align myself to a point where I can get a good spat out bit for Rosie, and then maybe go to someone, go, do you want to trade something that I've done from Rosie for some more paint? Do you know what I mean? And then I get the paint, and then I can keep painting. That gives me something to do that fuels my soul, makes me feel good. And I'm going to do these a bit smaller now, because then I can do a bit more with them and maybe then blow them up, because I haven't got much paint right now to be doing just big ones straight away, because it's wasting my time and energy in paint right now, and all this stuff that is going mouldy anyway, so it's just like literally, I quite like the fact some of it is withering away with, like some of it I've let weather beat a bit and then painted on it, it's actually affected it in a nice way too. So everything works and ebbs and flows with how it happens, which is what's happening. But yeah, the food thing is stressing me out, which is like sometimes cutting out my creativity and things like that. And like, yeah, it's because I feel bad and I feel like Jib shouldn't be responsible for me, but I feel like at the same time I've got nowhere else to go where I can actually be creative. And I feel like when I am here, I can't. Jib does kind of, even though we're on top of each other a little bit, we're not so much. We can just like be in the same room and I can be still creative. But I'm not. Like this place where I'm staying right now is proper inverted and outverted with me at the same time. It's like showing me lots of things and not at the same time, which I guess I need to see right now. And then when we move out of it or go somewhere else or do something else, it will benefit in the long run just to see, you know, emptying out every shower, emptying out every washing up under the sink, you know, bowl by bowl. When the boiler broke, had to use boiled kettle water, you know, like washing my own clothes by hand. Just these things, they take time every day just to be surviving. So like, you're either surviving or you're working, so having to deal with those two things and then be creative on top of that and then suppress the stress of all the other stuff. It's like, that's what I used to do with alcohol. I used to use it for a tool to disappear, to have that Rosie back where I could be myself. And then when the alcohol went, I didn't have that tool anymore, and then it all just started collapsing in on itself. It's like, well, I had to be this person, there had to be that person over there. Even now, if I want to go out and work, I still have to put that facade on. I still have to wear my suit of who I am, show myself. I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to create and explore the earth and just want to be Rosie, like, and then, you know, help flourish with you know, the people who also have the open imaginations, and they are your kids, your animals. You can play, run around with them. They're free. You know, I love drawing, like the dragonfly I found the other day, drawing that, or just looking at the things. I just see things, you know, small things. But yeah, the sound thing is fascinating me with fractal. I want to work in fractal nature as well. I think that would be better for bonding people if we just went fractal. Got rid of the squares, just worked on that pattern and then merged it more together. But you can do that through sound as well, so it would be your water, wind, fire, like when I'm talking fractal and visual fractal, so you could record visual through sound, because visual stuff is also moving sound, and then that sound also talks to the deep subconscious, so you could like write a story with the music. So you could say, for instance, if I struck a match like that and it lit, every human would know that sound of a match being lit, and their subconscious would go, oh, that's a match. But if you did that to maybe like a dog or a cat or like they wouldn't know what that sound, they wouldn't have the image in their head after that sound of a match being lit or what we use it for. They would just hear the sound, that would be it. They wouldn't have any relationship to that, and unless they looked at it and then they stored that sound with that picture, but they in their memory, but they wouldn't understand the whole thing of where the matches come from or what we use them to cook, to eat, you know, because it doesn't exist within their level of understanding. So when I'm looking at making the music, I want to make like a story. So I want to say, you know, if, like water for instance is infinite, the amount of sounds you could create through just water, and then you use all them as you're like mixing. They would be my palette, because I look at my palette of colour, then I create. So I'm looking at my palette of my sounds for music, and then what I want to combine with the earth, and then what makes me feel a certain way of energy, and then I wanted to weave that in some form to then help correct myself in balancing my hormones and things like this, because I feel more balanced when I'm in nature. So, but I wanted to link it in a way like I said, there's certain places where you can pivot in and out of the programming of the subconscious to help re-edit it or pull it out, or, you know, create another reel. So it would be like I just said, strike a match, or do a certain sound and then next to another sound, and that would tell a story only to the humans. It would pull the strings here and there. Like, I've got most of the information here and there, so you just need to match that, because that's where you'd match the visual then to the sound. So you'd always have the visual already there from the art, and then you match it. But then you could also listen to sound and match the visual, so the two can bounce out of each other. And like I said, that's what they're doing now with all the programming. So all you have to do is then counteract that with the medicine, because the medicine's there. Just it needs to be reset. Is seen inside, because there's two different ways of seeing, and the way they program you in school is a way to see, and to how to feed in, feed out, with everything you're interacting with. And it's causing fear in people to actually interact with the earth in a certain way, because it's too overpowering with how much information is there. So the music is a way to help reset the mind, because I notice it with certain sounds when I'm painting, and I'm listening to certain things, it sends me to certain places where I'm able to channel or switch off, and then my body's able to do something in these places. It takes me a while to reach it. Sometimes I can sit there for like up to 3 days and not have anything, and then sometimes I'll be in that space for ages. It's very unpredictable space to try and, like, you can't structure it with order or time. It just appears when you're mainly more present, but then everything in this reality is either, like when you're online, you look at Facebook, or you're either looking at stuff in the past or the future, or stuff that's, like, going to happen because someone's put a poster up, or they're posting a picture that's just happened. So as they're posting it, they're not in that frame anymore. So it's constantly keeping everyone in a loop of this and that. So it's acting like an ether brain, and then they're trying to dominate it, or they're dominating it in certain ways now, which is then grounding other energies into the physical. So yeah, each genre, so like each country, genre, whatever, would have something to offer in the mixing pool of all this. But if you gave it one foundation which all could understand, so like everyone must use the same instruments around the world with the same notes and music, so you could create new instruments or use them instruments still, but in large mass of people. Or use them with the sounds of the elements to enhance it. Like, everything is mixing up back with the earth. Well, like, I even saw this thing once as well, where they were recording sound off of a pineapple, or they record the sounds of the clusters of the stars. Like, I want to mix with that stuff, like to incorporate the earth, and like the sounds of bats or the sounds of animals and things like that, and maybe cut them up, loop them, speed them up, chop them up. Doesn't matter how they are, as long as that's the foundation of it. Like I said, record all different states of water. That's an infinite amount of mixing, because that's all they're doing now with certain other sounds, isn't it? Electronic sounds, and that, just replace them. I don't know. See, the thing is, I'm saying all this, but I don't know how to put it down into physical, because I can't use all the tech. But I've got all the, like, pigment there. If you got all the substance kind of there looping around, but I need someone else to kind of come bounce it off that. Maybe is in music, or I've got like genghis and stuff here, but I want someone to like want to be able to do this stuff. I think there's people out there, that want to contribute to this stuff. I'm fed up of saying, oh, can you come here and do that? I want to work with people that love what they do also, because then it just flows naturally. And like everyone on here that follows the videos and here does stuff, could we all sit and jam together without talking? Does it just flow because you're following an energy signature rather than like an outward to internet thing with what I'm saying? I don't know if this is even making sense, so I'm going to shut up now. But yeah, I'm going to upload this soon. Alright. Finish my chamomile tea. I don't think, if there's anything more coming up, I'm going to document it a bit more, because I think people maybe want to hear it right now. It's a way they can spark other ideas to collaborate, but I don't know how in the physical yet we'd be able to collaborate it. Like Jib and that said, if there's anywhere we can go, we'll go there. Like Mark, who does festival unit with and that, or the void unit and that up the road is like it's got like trucks and stuff in there. So Mark's got this well sick like big baby blue like army kind of truck thing that he built like 12 of them when he came out of the army. I think like Steve Jobs bought one off him. He didn't like Steve Jobs but he only made 12 of them, so I think he bought one of them off him, and he travelled in it, over in it from Africa. So he travelled from Africa in it and stuff. Jib was living in it before we got the caravan. I went to visit him a couple of times. He was living in it. It's like got showers and everything. It's just like a big festival, outdoor trucking, living thing. So yeah, like Jib said, if we could go somewhere and survive there, we'd go there. He'd go there because we've got everything to live off grid here. Because they live at festival circuit anyway. So, but yeah, they're doing a festival now because Jib needs money to pay rent and stuff for us to be existing. When actually we should just be growing food and existing is how I see it, but I don't really know at the moment what's going on. I'm just trying to survive like each week. Like I'm almost out of food again now, so hopefully Jib will be back on Monday. So I'm starting to like feel a bit stressed now because I've eaten really well, or quite well, yeah, last week or so, and now I've got no food again. So my body's like, but then I'm like, some days I choose to fast. Some days I choose to fast, but then I'd have no food. It's just like when the food's not there, I stress because it's not there, but when it's there, I'll fast. Do you know what I mean? So it's just my head. But then a lot of people are like this because I've eaten like normally my whole life, which maybe has been out of balance with the earth. So my body's been so used to since I was young doing all this stuff that to actually change it now is changing something really deep within me, because it changes you at quite a different level. Because now I'm like, my body doesn't have it, gets really stressed, and then I'm like, I go around in these cycles, and then that makes me lose even more weight, and it's like, what are you doing? But then I feel like it's out of my control. But I'm like, how do I gain back control? Because I'd have to go outside and do this stuff with the land. But then I did that at my mum's, and it wasn't great to grow food on your own. So we do need to go into like little tribal communities, but where's the soil good? I think we just need to look at the earth and where it is actually healthy, like what parts of it are alright, and then just start distributing people where they can actually survive or whatever, or like make creative like hubs where people can be openly creative and come up with ideas of how to do other sorts and make them able to move around and make them self-sustainable, so people can live off the land and come up with ideas and survive, if that's the way people choose to survive. And if people don't want to be around it and they're stuck in fear, then that's your own fear to deal with. Do you know what I mean? People going to me, you're not looking out. If you say, you're not looking out for other people because you don't have a jab, wear a mask. Well, that's not my fault. That's up to them. You know what I mean? These people getting all the COVID now. How do you know what they lived their whole life? What their karma is equal to the earth? What it's not. You know what I mean? How do you know that they've dug us into this mess we're in? They've created this world we're existing in right now because they've lived it. Do you know what I mean? I know our ancestors lived it not before, but we need to change it. So here to change it. So like they're stuck in fear and that, but that's where they've like put themselves. That's where they've built their world into. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to change where my world's building into. Yeah, it's like illegal to do that. It's like illegal to be who I am. So then I don't think that's very fair, because I'm just trying to be who I am and to survive and like enjoy a part of the earth what I'm part of and walk around now. Because like I'm sober, I'm not being toxic to the earth anymore. Yet now I'm being punished for being less toxic. For the earth, I'm being praised a bit by the earth. Like I still, even though I'm surrounded by containers here, I can still walk around with all the wild horses and that. So I feel like it's a bit of a like, even though I hate being here sometimes, it's a blessing at the same time. I'd rather be hidden in a city or a town right now, because it is still in the country, literally in the middle of nowhere. So there's more animals in that here, so I feel better here. Even though the generator's on all the time, I can still go out for a walk, and there's still good water in that here. So there's a lot of ups as there is downs right now. So I'm just trying to edit them as I am my paintings, and want to maybe do the music. Like that's what I like in life. That's what I like in life. I could bring that forward. I'll zoom in on that and I'll delete that out or whatever. Just ignore it, and then I'll just edit more here. That's what I do with my painting. I'll edit a bit more here. oh, I don't like that bit, but I do like that bit within that bit, so I'll make that colour a bit more prominent there, and then I'll just fade that one out a little bit, you know, and I've got bored of that section there, so I'll go to that painting there now, that side, and then I'll do that, and then I'll just pull that bit over to there. So if I don't like something, I'll just change it. And that's what I've learnt to do at a really deep subconscious level, is just to, like, within my painting, and then I've tried to pull that technique out, and then I visualise it in my life. So if I have a problem or confrontation with someone, I'll just look at myself and go, how do I deal with that in my painting? Like, oh, I don't like that, or that's come out and that's confronting me in the painting, so I have to deal with that bit now. Or, okay, I edit it there, do that. And it's never failed, because every single time you can always add a new layer. So you do the same with your life. Every time there's something wrong, you just add another layer. It's like there is really no mistakes. You can't really make a mistake. You just create, change. Changes constantly. Earth changes constantly. You know, everything is wrong with this country is it's so fixed. It's so fixed and set in its ways. You know, and that comes out in me a lot as well. Like, makes me fix and set in my ways, and that's not how I want to be. I want to be expressing myself in my art, and it's like it's come out of me in such a like compressed kind of tiny part of me spitting it out like a massive gas thing about to explode, but there's one tiny hole where it's just coming out of. Like, that's what I feel like sometimes when I'm here, like being so compressed that I just need to spit it all out. Like, now I'm compressed now and I want to paint loads now. I wish I had like 50 canvases to go and paint in front of me now, and I have these here, but I don't have enough paint, so I'm stressing about my paint. So I'm sitting in now stressing about paint and food, but also thinking about music and all these ideas and all this stuff, which is also like burns off energy, which makes me hungry. And unless I'm capturing that fuel that I'm burning here, like all these ideas, unless I'm capturing them in the physical, like on a painting and that, and then I have the painting there, then I fuel off the painting. So like I receive energy through the back of my eye retinas off the paintings. It gives me a charge of energy, like dopamine, like a gambling addict. Like study gambling. They don't physically take substance, but their eyes are physically taking colour, which is actually a substance. So they get addicted to that rush, to that dopamine hit. Like you're saying, you're doing all the tech. I get the same dopamine hit to my own paintings, because it's not a mirror of me. It's a mirror self of my own energy, and then I'm editing that, and then I'm receiving something from a part of myself that's like pulled forward almost, and then I'm learning from myself, in the energy that I spat out. But like I said, it's coming from a deep subconscious place. We're all connected. So like I'll spit it out, and then I'll learn from it, and then I'll grow, and then I'll add to it, and then next time I'll do it, I'll go, oh yeah, like I said, I like that bit. Oh, that would work well with maybe a painting I did 8 years ago, and then a memory will come up there, and then it will like its own Photoshop. And it just does this organically now, where I've worked with myself and with all these spaces and all these different, you know, pop-up restaurants, and then bars, and then gastro bar, and then a pub, busy pub. I had to go in a busy pub because I didn't want to manage anymore, but I didn't want to get bored. Working, you know, I use these things in my art because that's where we bounce out of. So bouncing out of this COVID society now is not making me want to draw, not making me want to paint it, not making me want to be a part of it. I don't want to be around it. I was recluse even before, like 2 years before the COVID self, but I don't want to be around it because the energy of it doesn't make me feel good. It's starting to get a little bit more lifted and a bit more love in the shops now, where people are smiling and that a bit more, because they realise it is a little bit more bullshit coming out of all the fascists, with all the facades of the suited and booted. Because the suit is the psychologist in that biggest jail. If you ask me, I was watching the psychology of creativity, and but yeah. Anyway, I'm really enjoying the psychology of creativity. Was by Jordan Peterson in Canada. Watch that. You should watch that. Anyway, I shared it on my Facebook, but I really enjoyed listening to John 9's music at the moment. This Rastafari girl, woman, lady, whatever, she is like really inspiring me, because I use for healing, for my medicine, I use cannabis sometimes, but I like the way she says she smokes it through steamer, because obviously it's illegal in the UK and that as well still, so you can't buy loads of it. But when I was out in Cambodia, it's legal on food, so it's helping me, and it was helping going into my stomach, where that's where I had, you know, the growth, the endometriosis around my organs and that, so I felt in my stomach it helped. but she used a steam chalice because she cured asthma with it. And just listening to them as a lifestyle, the way they live out in Jamaica with all the ripe fruit, the avocados, like, oh, that's the way I wanted to be living. That's the way we live in Cambodia. It's the way we should be living. Do you know what I mean? We're not meant to be stuck in this big prison over here. And it goes a lot more deep rooted into like the mental health and the fear and the actual DNA of people. My nan was like beaten by her mum. I'm pretty sure she told me she had like babies taken out of her coat hangers, for abortion. Like, this is stuff on the kitchen side or whatever, in the table. These people are still alive now. This stuff, it wasn't happening that long ago. So now it's just become silent because this frequency existing within people. The frequency existing within people, and when people live in unnatural places, sometimes they act unnatural. Like if you literally went to London like this, and you just got one bit, say all the buildings, everything here, all the city of London, and you just like attach a bit of string or to all the bricks, to all the walls, and you pulled it up like a dinner plate, and you saw everything existing underneath. The place hums. And if you saw that energy, would it be existing behind closed doors? We are all connected, so it's going on behind closed doors. If you're in the building next to it, you're still picking up that energy. Everything's so interconnected, and they're trying to pick the pivot points where we interconnect and where we don't. So we need to take them pivot points and move them somewhere else, and then pivot them out in a different way, in a new format, but still keep the foundation structure of how the earth is. Moving around, like, I try and work with mother trees, and when I say mother trees, I mean mother trees in society as well. Like if I see a person as a mother tree connected to loads of other people, or an octopus, I just say a mother tree or an octopus, because octopus has like 8 eggs, and there's people that are like octopus people, like myself, where we have arms in loads of creative places, and then I connect to someone and they know this creative group, and they know that, and a lot of it are already quite connected anyway. This is what I'm finding more and more from just meeting people randomly here and there all the time. And it's like with the mother trees, when the little ones grow up, they'll get all the main information in the Wood Wide Web from the mother trees, so you'll have them spread out, and then they'll just connect to all the little ones, and then they're the ones that give all the nutrients, so they're kind of in charge because they've got the most knowledge. But right now, like when we're applying that to structures within families and things like that, like you need to reverse it in a way so the kids can help pull the adults out, because the adults now have the most knowledge, but having the most knowledge is also having the most programming right now, because they've all been programmed, which is what we're trying to break the wall through the programming, which is internal in the brain, and then that internal to outside. So the kids are already open and don't have much programming, but within their DNA structure, they're still going to obtain the frequencies of the traumas and stuff from one mum pop out baby to pop out baby. It's like the string theory thing I'm talking about. So it goes through and through and through. The information, the DNA gets carried like tiny files. Like I mainly understand the DNA files move how you move the small large things, and yeah, the kids now, if you think about the mums that have given birth to them now, are carrying a lot more of the because the mums giving birth right now have upgraded in technology in the brain, so their cellular body and that has gone through a lot more eating of knowledge, and I mean knowledge of anything, media, anything you're eating through your eyes, you're eating it, is going into how your hormones are reacting to certain things and stuff like that. So that is going into the kids, and that is like you just sitting there in the mirror, that's making you feel a lot of emotions. That's still going into the babies that are being born right now. So they're being born with really unique frequencies that are like trying to edit for their survival for the future. That's within their development. They're already quite set to who they need to be and where they need to go. They don't really need to be touched or moulded from the school system. They need to be, the snow plough needs to go and walk that path for them just to walk and be who they are and do what they need to do right now. And they already know how to shine, and that they're really advanced in loads of other ways. So you just want to like amplify that, help them grow it by giving them a voice right now. And they could have a voice in so many ways. Like I said, we're not born with left brain, we're not born with language, we're born with an imagination, and we're born with all these ways how to interact and feelings and stuff. But yeah, I'm really ranting now, so I'm going to go. This is 40 minutes. So yeah, the kids being born are really advanced from the mum. The mum's understanding to put them out, and the adults are up here. So yeah, they've got more knowledge, but they've also got more programming. So the kids almost need to help the inner child come back in the adults. But even though that is the inner child, is the kid. Because when I'm creating with the kids, I'm bouncing off them. You know, they got their imagination open. They're like, duh, duh, duh. And when they're going in school, you're deleting that out of them, and actually you want to help that grow in them and keep it in them. And then they need to pull that out the adults with, because I have found it myself sometimes when kids get a bit frustrated when they go do this, do that, or they get to and you're tired and you want to rest or whatever because you're older and you're like, oh, don't want to do it. But actually, like, that's where they're pulling out the programming. So like when you're getting angry, you're getting this stuff, they're pulling it out. They're pulling it out to get you to where you need to be. So then you can have fun and run around and still find your inner child again, because society robbed it from you. Well, that's what I feel like anyway. It's constantly trying to rob my inner child by giving me all these responsibilities. And when I'm dealing with all the letters, and you know, if I sign up to the government to get money off them, it's like the forms and that stress me out so much. It actually causing me stress, like to live within the structure of the time, and all I want to do is grow healthy vegetables. And then you know, find some bits of wood here and there and carve and just live like in tune with the earth. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like I have to hide it, or I can't be like it around other people because they get jealous and that. It's like, well, you choose to do that. You choose to do that as well. Let's all choose to do it at the same time. But you know, I'm making a decision by sitting here making these videos, by doing my art, by trying to not talk about all the Ovid stuff too much. Do you know what I mean? I try not, because my body repels it so much. My rosy internet brain's so massive with my art going on all the time, to actually even intake such a massive thing as COVID, to reset myself there, is like hardwiring me nuts creatively, and it's really frustrating. And I'd just rather be separate from it right now. Let everyone else have their own integrations. You know, I said this even before the COVID. I said people are going to be having one day depression, want to kill themselves, want to, you know, have the worst day of their life, and the next day have Kundalini awakening and be in the highest bliss state. I said it's going to go like this. Then people are going to cross each other in the street daily, you know, and some will make it through and some won't. And this is what's happening right now. And I said this even before the people in Canterbury tried to get the mental health to take me away. Said I was saying all this stuff, you know what I mean? I said all this stuff, and now it's all happening. So, you know, I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm not sitting there going, oh, big-headed, I said this is going to happen. I'm saying everything I'm saying is going to happen. I'm just trying to say I'm still trying to figure it out as well. That's why I'm not always talking on here about it. So I don't want to set in stone all this and that. All I can say is what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing and what's coming out of me as a human being. And hopefully that can inspire other people to listen to themselves in that way. Because everyone won't hear themselves like they hear me. You'll hear yourself through the way your own real works, and the way that your own understanding of your foundation of what you've eaten growing up as frequencies, and you know, respect and not what you've liked and what you've hated and things like that. And then it's about your own equation of them things and how you spit them out creatively into an abstract way. You know, it's not for everyone to tell you what to do. It's for you to try and pull it out of yourself. And I want to not, you know, take glory from everyone else and put it in. I want to help people by being whole in myself, to help them learn how to be whole in themselves, and then them to, you know what I mean? I don't want to glorify myself. I want to glorify my art, because my art is coming from a place where we're all connected in the deep subconscious. But me as a person doesn't want to eat energy from other people unless I'm sparking off of them creatively to create beauty, to create art that fuels my soul, that then fuels my soul. So I look at a piece of art that fuels my soul, so I feed off myself. But I have to still pay for the materials, and they're expensive. so I'm starving. Do you know what I mean? Like, we go out sometimes and sometimes we've nicked stuff from shops because I'm hungry. How am I meant to survive? It's just legal to pick wild carrots here. Like, how do you expect us to survive if you've got no money? I can't go into shop and trade. Do you know what I mean? Most of the time, yeah, it's not all the time, but sometimes it's like, well, how do you expect me to survive? When you put me in survival mode, yeah, people may get along right now in a room of people together, but you put a room of hungry people in the same room together, it's a completely different story. So when I'm living like this, it's setting me in and out of survival mode. So I'm seeing maybe what could happen, or how to prevent maybe this happening to large amounts of people, because then that's on the brink. That's when war starts. So I'm studying on the brink of it. You know what I mean? Here, in a way. And that's from higher out of erratic emotion. So how are we going to deal with all these emotions? Because there's so many emotions going on. There's going to be loads coming out about what they're seeing, what the truth is coming out. We're going to see all these emotions and we're like, we either need to take them on and use them in a positive way to help us, power where we want to go, or we're going to eat them and destroy the place. There's two ways of eating it up. But each way of eating it up is going to affect everyone at such a deep level, no matter what way it goes. So, choice is there, and it's up to everyone to decide how their heart feels about it. And mine feels very strongly about creating beauty. So, yeah, hello, love.